Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And last time out, we built 3 very unique islands for subscribers and also a financial district, which has really rounded off our downtown really quite nicely here. Just added in a little bit of extra height where we had the old university buildings into this side. But really pleased with how that has sat in overall. So we've still got some gaps around this side, which we will come to, but for today we're heading back over to our commuter town over here to fill out some of the residential neighbourhoods with the new builds. So we've got our historic residential neighbourhood, which you may remember from a few episodes ago, mainly focused on the University Content Creator Pack, University City Content Creator Pack, with some old European buildings in the centre of the town here. And of course we've also got our industrial district as well, bustling away over here. Absolutely love this area again. But now we're going to turn our attention to these little residential neighbourhoods on the outskirts of the town. So we're actually going to try and get through at least 3 of them today with 3 very distinctive styles. So let's crack on. So the first district that we are going to look at is this little area over here, sat nice and nestled in by the river. And what I'm actually going to use is some of the European Suburbia assets for this. Now I've kind of flagged some of them that I think we can use as new builds and get away with it, hopefully. But these 2 are definitely some which I would like to use and explore. So we have these 2 assets here. Now they're the same essentially, but very subtly different in the fact that one is a slightly different size, doesn't have a hedge, that sort of thing, has a garage port there rather than a little office building out the back. But because they come in this like nice red brick and they roofs match, I think what we can do is merge them together to create some nice residential patterns along here as if this was a new build estate. Now it is going to need some detailing around it, but you can see with these 2 assets like this, if we just merge them, they're absolutely fine. And you know what, I have to point out this asset here. This back office is literally blocking the door, and I've never noticed that before with this asset, but that is super poor, frankly. So I'm actually going to use Bob on this, and I'm going to move that shed. If we go for the Z axis, yeah, we can move it so it's further away from that door. So what I'm actually going to do is just sit it very slightly further back, just off the edge of the plot here. So it is technically out of bounds, but it works an awful lot better. And in fact, you know what? I think what I will do as well is let's turn the angle round and we'll have it so it's facing the back of the house like this. Because it's just like, yeah, it's not the best thing at all. Because I was actually pretty shocked when I saw that and realised that they haven't actually thought about that placement one little bit. It's just a little bit mad. But anyway, there we go. So they've got their office out the back here. And what I will do as well actually is turn the probability down so we're not getting it on every single one. So I think we'll actually have it at about 60%. So sort of just under 2/3 of the buildings will spawn that shed in a much better location, so their back door is actually accessible. I think what they were trying to do is make it look like an extension, but it just wasn't very well placed, in my opinion. But anyway, so we've got our 2 assets here, and if we use Move It, what we can do is copy these to create this little neighbourhood. It also means we can line up that hedge super nicely as well, but what you'll notice is obviously the building colour changes. So if we use Move It, we can actually reset these, and they've got very similar colours to each other. So we've got this yellow brick for this one, we've also got it for this. So that's the type of thing that I want to do. And I think actually what I will do is use a lot of this yellow and red brick here, which feels quite new buildy to me. And hopefully that will give us the type of vibes that we want for a community that is newly built with lots of very similar style of housing. So we'll pretty much in this area only use these 2 assets, but in various different combinations. So not always like this. Some will be detached, some will be semi-detached. We might even do some little terraces if we can make that work. So that's the plan for this area. Now the second neighbourhood that I want to look at is this one here, which is situated right next to our leisure centre over there. And for this one, we're going to do a very similar thing. So we're going to use European Suburbia assets again, but again, being very selective about the ones that we are using here. So we have these 4 assets, so these 2 which go together really nice. No, that's the same one. These 2 which go together really nicely. And then also these assets here, which are a slightly kind of bigger version of essentially the same thing with the pitched roofs, that style of housing. And again, if we use move it to reset it, of course we could just repaint buildings as well if we wanted to. We can reset it so we get some nice, we did get the white brick then. Nice similar aesthetics between all of these buildings. The roof colours are kind of similar. The paintings on the walls are similar as well. So this one also has a nice white version. So we can get a very consistent look and feel throughout this neighbourhood, as if one developer has come in and built all of these houses in one go, like purchased this plot of land and gone, right, I'm sticking a new housing estate on it. That is the vibe that we want to go for. So I think hopefully by using these assets, we can make them look like new builds and make this neighbourhood have that feel about it. So that's what we'll be doing in the second neighbourhood. And then coming all the way over past our industrial area to this area here, I want to put some more low wealth style housing into this area. So what we are going to do, and I'll set up a tag again in Find It for this, but if we go to low income, we've got various different houses here. Now, a couple of vanilla assets actually that we could potentially use, but again, using European Suburbia for this, because I think these assets are super diverse in the fact that we can get very different kind of styles of housing and housing development through using these. So yeah, quite excited to see how this goes. We've got this one, which is a little kind of maisonette with a bit of detailing around it. I think we can make it feel more low wealth. We've got this one, which is a similar style. And again, in very heavily repeated patterns, we can definitely make this look like slightly more low wealth. We probably want to bob off all the bushes and the trees from these. And I don't think I've really used these assets anywhere else. So I don't mind basically stripping them right back. So if we go to Bob, let's go ahead and remove pretty much everything from this. We'll get rid of the grill in the back, the hedge definitely, the parasol. We're going to completely, we don't want the invisible parking spaces removed. The swing set, yes. Table set, yes. Tiles, yes. Why not? So remove it all and strip it right back. And then of course the trees as well, let's also do that. So we'll get rid of all of these bushes. I think with the tree variant number 2, let's change it. Let's change it to a small fir tree. Yeah, I think that one. And then the tree variant 3, actually, let's just remove that. There we go. We've got a completely bobbed versions of those buildings. So now it's much more flexible. We can do quite a lot more with it. So we can make them a bit closer. We could potentially even kind of terrace some of these as well. We'd have to move those invisible parking spaces forward, but that's not too much of an issue. And this should give us quite a nice low income style housing area. So before we get too stuck into this, what we do need to do is go ahead and plop in all of these houses to create these neighbourhoods. And then what we'll do is come back and have a look at facilities like schools and parks, and also public transport, as well as what we are going to do in order to detail all of this up and get the vibes that we want for these neighbourhoods. Okay, so we've got in our 3 residential estates, and this is the first one here, which actually I think is my favourite, and I think anyone from England will hopefully recognise the type of vibe that I was going for here with these new build housing estates. Like, could be a Barratt Homes or something like that. A developer has come in, bought the land and built out this entire estate. The same style of buildings all over. Like I said, we've mixed it up a little bit with some kind of partially semi-detached, fully semi-detached, and lots of detached houses as well. Kind of interesting patterns, hopefully, throughout. So yeah, I need to come in with a lot of detailing around it. I have already done the hedges, only because I know how long this takes. This took me a long time to do these 3 areas already without the detailing in. But we do want to come in and add some kind of different plants along the fronts of different houses to vary up the look along the street quite a bit, because at the moment it's very static and exactly the same. These 2 bushes repeat all over these houses down this road, for example. So we want to break that up with a bit of detailing. Of course, detailing with trees in and around the area as well. And I've left a couple of areas open for parks. So, for example, here, I think what we will do is add in an actual playground. And this will, of course, as well help raise land values and help these buildings to level up, which is absolutely what we want. We're on a pursuit for 100,000 population, hopefully today. I'm not sure if we'll get there now, I've plopped all the houses in, but let's see. So we can definitely have a playground here, of course, lots of detailing around it, a little bit of fencing, some overgrowth trees, maybe some more benches and the such like around there. But that'll work nicely for that area. And then we've got this space as well to do a kind of recreation ground. So I'll probably do a kind of tree-lined park with a nice open green field in it that people can walk their dogs or come and play footy or whatever it might be out in that area there. And then I have also left a very small gap here where we have access onto our nature reserve river walk, which we will come to in a future episode, which is going to trail down this river and out into the ocean. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a nice little feature to have at the end of their housing estate there. Then we've got this one with all the white pointy roofed housing, and exactly the same. Like, I've come in and added in all the hedges as well, so we've got backyards for all. Left this open for a nice green open space, lots of trees and open space I think in there. A couple of areas again for little parks. So here, let's put in a vanilla playground again on this corner, some detailing needed around it, but that'll sit nicely and also help with those land values around here. And then flying over to the other side in our low wealth, I've gone for a mixture of different buildings here actually. So I have gone for these European Suburbia ones, which look slightly rougher on the front. I've got some little marks on them. Coloured in a few into this kind of grey pattern, got rid of the blue ones, which I thought looked a little bit odd. But I like the fact we've got some multicolours here. And of course come in and added all the backyards for all of these as well, which again took a really long time putting all these fences in, but hopefully the vibe is there. And lots of detailing again needed on this to rough up some of these streets, adding a few props and trees along the streets as well, make it feel a little bit more realistic than it does right now. And we've got a mixture of buildings, so we kind of got these little sort of condo maisonette things from European Suburbia as well, and these townhouses, which look like they're made out of corrugated iron. And I've made them a little bit grey as well, so it looks slightly more run down and less cared for. And then as we come across the back, we've actually got a couple of vanilla assets down here. So a little row of these smaller houses. They do have upstairs. They're still keeping within the 2-storey type of theme, but obviously converted bungalows, chalet bungalows, little semi-detached ones, which I thought was pretty cute. Just bordering onto the train line at the back here. So that's the neighbourhoods. Obviously more detailing still to come. But the next thing we do want to do is add in some schools. Now we have got the one high school in this area, which is over here, which actually is probably one of my favourite high school complexes. Loving this one with the field backing onto the elementary at that side as well. But I definitely think we could do with another one down this side, and I thought this would be a good space to put it. So we're going to add in a high school like this, but also an elementary for here as well. So I'm thinking down on this corner, so our parking is nice and appropriate on the corner, and lots of opportunities to extend out the playground around this. Probably add in a couple of sports fields around here as well, which I think would be a nice touch. We could even add in a bit of a modern gym. Maybe this is like a sports academy or something like that over here. So let's just actually have a little look at what that looks like, because we haven't really done this too much in Auridon, particularly not with the European High School as well. And that's actually not too bad. It's maybe a little bit fancy for the area, but I feel like we can have areas like this where they've developed it, tried to modernise it, bring in new facilities for the residents. So I think a nice sports hall like that wouldn't go amiss. Now the other services we do want to consider as well is fire and police. So we have a little look at fire coverage. So we have got 2 stations, but very much centralised. So it would be good to probably have one more out this end and another one out here as well. So I think down here what we might do is create a little police and fire yard, because actually let's have a look at police and we can tackle that at the same time as well, because police, we actually only have the one central big station and one smaller one out there. So again, it would be good to have one in this area and one down here. So let's just grab the road. We'll just grab... In fact, we will actually... Oh, that's one thing to mention is I have upgraded these all to the suburban street with no markings and no grass, so that you can imagine people actually driving onto their drives without me having to plop all those individual bits of concrete, which is quite nice. So let's have a little segment, I think, out like that. And let's just clear out the trees briefly from here. Got a little bit of undergrowth too. Let's grab our firehouse first. And I think that's probably quite a nice one actually to sit on this corner here. We could do a bit of fence detailing around it as well to help it blend in a bit more. And then let's grab police second. We can put that on this corner here. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to grab this node and I'm going to angle it out like that. Then we can turn the police station round and sit it like so. So let's just drag that back just a little bit. And that feels quite nice. Again, a bit more detailing needed around that to help it blend in, but I think it sits in quite nicely next to Ditch's Garden Supplies, our garden centre there. And then coming over here, we could definitely do with some more services on this side. And I'm thinking this corner is probably quite a nice little place for it. I would add as well, we've got an elementary school right here. So for schools this side of the town, I don't think it's too much of an issue. We've now got 2, technically 3 high schools in and several elementary. So I think we should be fine with that without adding another elementary over this side. So again, let's just clear out those trees and we'll add in our fire station and police station, which I think will sit all right just on this road here. I don't think we need to do anything too special with them. We can, of course, fence in a little police yard, I think, around it. Should be a nice touch of detailing, which we will do when we come to the detail in time lapse. I think they can sit in reasonably well there. We've got this little block of commercial, so it's not sort of too far detached from that, I don't think. Now, the next thing I do want to do as well is add in some more walking paths and make it a little bit more walkable for citizens. So we have this access into this area, which will be a recreation ground. So I am actually just going to draw in a tiny bit of concrete path, and then we are going to change to ghost paths. And we're just going to meander our way around this area to join up to the side over there. Now we do actually, just thinking about it, need to remember where this is. So I'm actually going to upgrade this to a dirt path so that we can see. And we'll remember to just upgrade this back afterwards. And let's just snap into that same node there and we can bring this across to this side. So there's multiple options. We'll keep a nice green open field in the middle of this. And then there's little places like here where we can just create a very small cut through. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll just bring down the path through that way so that people can walk from end to end on these little cul-de-sacs as well. And I think we've got a few more of those to do around here. Yes, like here, for example, we can just bring out a very small path along that hedgerow there. A little bit of detailing in there will sort that out nicely. And same goes for over here. Let's give them actually access to the leisure centre. Let's bring this down and we can connect that up to the side of the road there. And we just want to move over some of these trees so they're not fully blocking the path. But I think that that should be okay like that. And someone's already using it. Wonderful. We try and get that nice and straight along this hedge there as well. That'll give quite a nice effect going down into the leisure centre there. And again, another little space that I've left for creating that walking access. So we just want to find points like that and make sure that they are all connected up. And I think one other important thing is as well, because we've got our elementary school over here, we do want to provide walking access for them rather than having to drive around the main road. We've got a tree on the line there. Let's just move that back. But what I would like to do with this is create a pedestrian bridge going over this train track. Let's just raise this up by about 7. So we'll bring it out like that. Let's turn snapping on so we get nice angles as well. And then we'll just bring this home and connect it down to the ground this side. And then here what we'll do is actually click home, I think slightly further over. So that we've got, yeah, this running down that side and connecting up to the pavement over here. So that again just gives them direct walking access from side to side over this railway track without having to drive all the way around here and down to get to the elementary school and the shops in this area. They can just cut across now. So I think that's a handy thing to add. And then final piece of admin for these areas is, of course, adding in some public transport. So we do have a bus station in the centre of our town here. We've got an international bus station actually, but we can connect in some local lines into this as well. Obviously, nice connection into the train station, which will take them direct into downtown and all round the rest of the city of Auridon. So, right, just having a look at possible bus routes. Now, we don't have any local bus routes around here at all, actually. So we can go a little bit nuts with this. But what I'm thinking is we definitely want one bus route that takes them from this estate up through the centre of town, probably down this route and into the leisure centre, but we can also obviously connect it up to this estate over here. Then I'd quite like to have another bus route which runs from this area through the old town a little bit and then into the town centre via that way. And of course that one we can then extend out into these districts over here. We'd probably have another one that extends down into these districts down the bottom as well. So there's a few to add, but we'll just add in the 2 for today. So starting off down here, now buses obviously have to be able to turn around, and we don't really want them turning around in a tiny little cul-de-sac. I don't feel like that's hugely appropriate. So I'm thinking what I will add is the bus stop here on this side. They can then come into the roundabout and turn around to come back. So from there, we'll then go up to the leisure centre. So let's stop right about here. Which gives them nice access to the aquatic centre and football fields out the back there. And then we'll come on up this road. And I think an appropriate stop would be here, which then gives access to some of the residents over this side to hop onto the bus route if they so wanted to. And now we do have main roads here. So I think what we actually will do is come in and stop at the back of the shopping centre here. That'll bring them through that way. In fact, let's not do that. Let's do it here so that they follow those actual roads round nicely. So let's bring it into that side. Then to get into the bus station, yeah, they are going to come round this way. So potentially another stop outside of these houses here, which would give access again, making some of them a little bit happier. And then we'll come into the bus station from there. And then from this side, we are going to continue this line on. So I think having one stop down here by the industrial district would be quite appropriate. We'll give them access there. And then we will venture on up into this estate. So we could, I mean, this is a bus route, so they can be quite close together. We could add another one down this end. That'll serve the garden centre. And then we'll come on up into the estate. So let's stop firstly. In fact, actually, we won't do that. We'll stop at the immediate entrance to the estate right here, because that also is very close to the garden centre, and Sims do walk quite a long way. So we'll do that, and then we'll bring it on round. And then I think we'll stop here, because that'll give us the best coverage around this area rather than stopping this side of the school. Then we can just bring it back round, and we'll have another stop here, which will be taking them in the opposite direction. And then we're just going to mirror those stops all the way back. I think we will actually go for a double-decker bus for this. Capacity 65 is absolutely fine. And because this is quite a British area, now Auridon is not a British city, I would add. There is no particular theme to it. But this is very much a British little town. It's inspired by a lot of areas from the UK. So let's give it a red bus route. And we will call it Commuter Line 1. Because I haven't technically given the town a name yet, but we will be doing that at the end of this episode so we can update the names for this line. So stay tuned for that. Then, of course, we want one other line which comes around here. So let's firstly stop. I think we'll probably stop actually in the middle here, which will probably give the best coverage for most of them. And then we will swing it round this side. Let's have another stop on the main road here, which will serve some of these houses in this bottom corner. And then we'll bring it up the main road. So again, stopping here. We won't stop at this stop actually. I don't want to double it up there. So I think we'll leave it as that one stop and then coming into the bus station. I don't think it needs to be any more than that. And in fact, now I'm thinking about it, I think actually the better route would be to go down this way, wouldn't it? So let's stop outside the shops there. We'll have another stop here and we'll bring it out this way. So I can adjust that line in a second. We'll stop that there, and then actually let's just poke it on up round to these shops so that it's quite close to this school. So yeah, we can bring it out to there and then that can loop back round to finish off. And again, let's select the type. I think we will go for a double-decker bus again. And let's also make it a red line, but let's make it a slightly darker red. And we'll call this Commuter Line 2. So then let's just adjust this stop here. So we do want to drag this into this area to there. And then of course add in a stop this other side there. And then that should do nicely, I think. So we have got pretty good bus coverage around this area, across through here and into the town centre. They're not getting a huge amount here, but they do have access to a stop down this side and here, which I think is close enough. And they're also close enough to the centre. They could easily walk to the train station to get anywhere. We've got coverage down to this estate, including stopping at the leisure centre and then round down through to this side. So I think that's okay. So we probably want one more line, maybe a circular line even, which swings around these neighbourhoods and back into the town centre that way. It could potentially be 2 lines out in this direction, then 1 down to this side. Let's see when we come to build out those areas. So that is it in terms of the main admin from a transport point of view and facilities, services for these areas. So it is just a matter of now coming in and building out those parks and detailing around the 3 neighbourhoods that we've got here. But Dad would also need to add in quite a sizable park into this area, which I didn't do actually when I'd mentioned it on the previous episode when we were looking at the historical suburbs. So I'm going to jump into that time lapse and I will be right back. Okay, so let's go around and have a little look at what we've done. So in this area, it's just kind of coming in and filling it in with trees. And as mentioned, I've gone around a lot of the fronts of these houses and tried to make them a little bit varied. So we've got different planters in front, different flowers, different hedges, different kind of trimmings, as it were, in front of these houses. Again, you can see this over here with a few extra bushes, little bits of hedge, different styles of hedges, and a couple of trees out front, various different bushes and the such like, trying to just vary it up so it doesn't look super kind of boring and exactly the same, and trying to give some of these houses a little bit of extra detail to them. Then in here we have just added in our tree-lined park area. There is literally nothing in it. This is now an invisible park running around here. I don't know if we're actually going to see anyone using it, but it is in there as a bit of open recreation space for the residents of this particular neighbourhood. And of course we have come in and detailed up our little playground here as well. Very simple, really. Kept a little back entrance here, a little bit of fencing round and some trees, just to give it a little bit of purpose and help it sit into the neighbourhood a bit better, I think. Over in this neighbourhood, again, not much really has happened other than just coming in and adding in trees, adding in any bits of missing hedge that I'd missed all over the place, as things are rapidly burning down. Now these houses I didn't feel like needed as much front detailing and touching up, so I have just left it. It all looks pretty consistent, but where they vary, they've got hedges up front and no hedges in some. The linden tree doesn't appear on every single asset, that sort of thing. So I think there's enough variation in them that they are okay. And of course we've just added in this little open park space here. Very simple with a tree in the path. As always find these things just as I'm going around recording. But we do just have a very simple open space here. We've got a little kind of gazebo in the middle, surrounded by a little bit of undergrowth, a bit of natural detailing. And then a few benches just dotted around in various different places, some around the edge, some in the middle, a couple of picnic benches here and there. So it's very much just an open recreational space for, again, the residents of this neighbourhood here. And the bus line seemed to be working pretty well. I can just show you how that's looking. We've only got 4 passengers on this. I have lowered the number of vehicles a little bit, but we're pretty consistently getting passengers everywhere. Oh my goodness. What is going on with this stop? So we may need some more buses on this commuter line 1. That's an awful lot of people there. There's quite a few buses coming up with not too many people, but there are people using the whole line, so that's good, and same with the other line. And then flying on over to our final district, we have again just come around and added in some trees. I've added in lots of decals onto these roads because I think it just gives it a slightly more run-down, worn look. So I quite like this, and I've kept minimal foliage out the front as well, just so it does look a little bit grey and grim in quite a horrible manner, I suppose. And then up by the school, this is really where we did most of the detailing here, where we have just come in and added extra bits of fencing around here, a little bit of greenery where necessary, joined on these 2 tennis courts here as well, which again look a bit scuffed up and old. Couple of car parks down this side, and then just added in the playground for the playground extension, I should say, for the elementary school there. But otherwise, very, very simple and basic. And of course, around our services as well, just come in with, touched it up with a little bit of fencing here, and again, some decals just to wear that road down. And then over the other side, I've done a little bit more here. So I've added in a little police yard at the back here with the police cars, and then a couple of fire engines dotted around the fire station there. So I think that helps to sit that in quite nicely. And of course we've touched up the roundabouts. And then we come on to the main park. Now this is not like a big show park. This is very much just an open city park. And I wanted to have this big long strip running through it because actually when you come down to street level, of course, there's absolutely no one using it. There was a few people using it when I was looking before. But it's really quite a nice walk up with this tree-lined passageway there. And you can look across to the lake. People actually are on the pier. And this is just a very shallow, rocky lake. I was kind of imagining that people might come down and sit on the rocks and have a little swim in the summertime. That sort of thing, which takes up that other half of the park, but kept it very open green space. Again, I was kind of imagining a bit like a city centre common. But there's a lot of open space, and you can imagine a fun fair or something would pop up a couple of times a year, maybe a circus, maybe the odd concert in the park, that sort of thing, mini festival. That's what I wanted this area to be purpose for. So I've kept it very, very minimal. A couple of playgrounds and gazebos around the edge, 1 cafe and toilets, but that really is it. Super nice and open. I think those 3 areas have bedded into this town quite nicely, but it is time, finally. Feels like a long time ago we started this, to give this town a name. And that name is actually going to be Cadbury. So I know it was suggested by a number of you, but it was first suggested by Christ91. Thank you so much for your suggestion. There were a lot of likes on that comment, and a lot of you said you agreed and you really liked that name. Obviously, the take on FewCandy being that it's chocolate, and because the inspiration was largely Salisbury for this area, so it's another berry. So I absolutely love that. So we will call this Cadbury. Thank you so much, Chris, for your suggestion there. So this is going to be the town of Cadbury. And we also do have a couple of parks in this area. Now, this one's tiny, so I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to call this Cadbury Town Centre Park. The other parks we've got are actually fairly substantial, large spaces, like this one here, the Woodland Park, and also Applegate Hill, as it's named at the moment. And what I would like to do is name this after two of my top tier Patreons. So now the first park over here, I am going to name after Zach Johnson. So thank you so much for your support. I so appreciate it. And we will call this a Zach Johnson Park. And then just to go along with that as well, I would also like to name these outer housing districts as well, because you've got quite a nice name here. When I think of these housing districts, I think of something like Barratt Homes, or other housing developers are available. But I think what we could do is call this Johnson's Homes Estates. If that makes any sense. So again, following on from Zach Johnson's Park, we also have the Johnson's Homes Estates here, with all of our new build housing in it. So again, thank you so much for your support, Zach. I really appreciate it. And then following on from that as well, we do also have another top tier Patreon that I would like to name this park after. And this one is going to be called the Flying Duck Park, because we are going to put something out here in a future build coming up very soon, which will also be related to your name, Flying Duck. So thank you so much for all of your support as a Patreon. It goes such a long way to helping support keep the channel going and keeping me motivated to produce videos for you. So thank you so much for your support there. But for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the video and this take on using European Suburbia in a kind of interesting way, then please do hit the like button, drop me a comment and let me know what else you would like to see in Auridon. It is starting to wrap up now. We've got a couple of months left yet, so it's not imminent. If there are other builds that you've got great ideas for that you would really like to see in Auridon, then please let me know so I can add them to the list and make sure we get in everything that we want to, unless of course the prop count kills us beforehand. But that is all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.